All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are going streaking, and unless you are in the movie Old School, no, we are talking about the Detroit Lions. They have now won 3 straight, 42-24, dominant performance. Start strong, end strong, at home, 42 points. Hey, baby, I'm going to take it. Before we get into this video, let me just take a sip of this. Oh, yeah, it tastes pretty freaking good, man. I know it's the Carolina Panthers, and I know I'm going to get a bunch of comments saying, oh, it's the Carolina Panthers. But hey, it's the Detroit Lions. We talk about it, I feel like, every single week since pretty much the halfway point of last year. The Detroit Lions, if you're supposed to win this game, what do you got to do? You got to win the game. And Dan Campbell has a phenomenal philosophy with especially a lot of these young guys on this team. One game at a time. It's just simply one game at a time. And hey, man, we say it all the time on this channel, but it's the NFL. A win is a win, and I'm going to take it. Now, keep in mind, the Detroit Lions are banged up, all right? I know every other team in the National Football League is also banged up, but hey, you're missing wide receiver 1 in Amon-Ra St. Brown. You are missing your kind of jack of all trades in Jahmyr Gibbs. You're missing pieces. They're just missing pieces. So guys really came through, stepped up. David Montgomery, what is he, the first Detroit Lion ever to have a rushing touchdown in his first 4 games, 19 carries, 109 yards. Now, Detroit's offense almost put up 400 total yards. I still feel like it is just the tip of the iceberg. And I know it just sounds redundant at this point, 5 games into the season. But I'm telling you, man, this Detroit Lions team is just getting started. So before we get any further into tonight's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Lions fans, as always, I love you guys so much. If we could try and get this video to 500 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So the defense did a phenomenal job. I know Carolina put up 24 points, but 14 of those were in the fourth quarter. We've seen it what feels like 3 straight weeks right now, where Detroit just gets off to a lead, whether it's the first possession of the game, the second possession. They're usually up by at least 10 points after the first quarter. They do the same thing in the second quarter. Today, for example, you're up 28-10 at halftime. So what happens? Well, you can take your foot off of the gas. And what I mean by that is Ben Johnson's still being versatile. He's still being creative, but you don't need to take as many deep shots, especially without Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially without Jahmyr Gibbs. You just basically want to limit your opposing team's ability and time remaining on the clock to have as many opportunities to put points up on the board. So Detroit's just coasting. I mean, Atlanta, Green Bay, Carolina, they're just coasting in the second half of these football games. Now, some things I really liked with Detroit outside of just, watching the game in general were a couple of things. First off, penalties. Only 5 penalties for 35 yards. And then second off, a perfect 4 for 4 in the red zone. And then obviously, most importantly, they had 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers. This is a clean team. They've had some games where penalties just kind of felt like it's just being a little stupid there. They're cleaning it up. The offensive line's the offensive line. The defensive line, Aiden frickin' Hutchinson. I mean, I would hate to be a Jaguar fan right now just watching Aiden Hutchinson play football after he went number 2. The dude had an interception. He had a sack. He is becoming not only one of the best young rising defensive ends in the National Football League, it's just becoming one of the best defensive ends, one of the best defensive players in the entire league, which is so crazy because I'm older than him, which is just so crazy to say. He's only 23 years old. He turned 23 2 months ago. The dude's a freak specimen. Defensively, now, like I said, they did give up 14 points in the fourth quarter. It was a blowout. I mean, it was a blowout. It was a domination victory. Don't even really look into the scoreboard, although that is, pretty much borderline blowout, 42-24. Alex Anzalone all over the place. I do have to give props, of course, to my man, Will Harris, whoever the announcer was. I don't remember if it was Derek Johnson or the other guy saying Will Smith. I got a nice little chuckle there. But no Brian Branch, right? No CJ. Gardner Johnson. So guys are stepping up, next man up. And you saw it with Will Harris. The dude was everywhere on the freaking football field this afternoon. He was everywhere on the football field, along with Kirby Joseph. And then Jerry Jacobs with his 3rd interception on the season. Like, dudes are just stepping up. Cameron Sutton, unfortunate injury to Emmanuel Mosley, but he did get up in his own power, which is great to see. Because everybody's rooting for him. This definitely, the game started off with just a bunch of injuries, some gruesome injuries, getting the card out. It just, it really sucked. But yeah, shout out to Emmanuel Moseley. He looks like he is going to be okay. Now, offensively, you'll have Jared Goff, who is as consistent, as reliable as they come in the National Football League. He's definitely a top 10 QB, 20 of 28, 236 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, keep in mind, right? Well, without Amon-Ra St. Brown, so you got Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta, 3 catches, 47 yards, 2 touchdowns. Once again, welcome to the NFL, Sam Laporta. He along with Aiden Hutchinson, even though he's a rookie right now, like Sam Laporta is not one of the best young rising tight ends in the National Football League. No, he's just like becoming one of the best young rising tight ends, or just one of the best tight ends in general. I mean, I know just 3 catches for 47 yards, but you got to like what you see 5 games into the season. I mean, just statistically matched up against the rest of the tight ends in the league, the dude's killing it. I mean, he's literally killing it. But one thing we talk about on this channel all the time, and one of the big nitpicks for this Detroit Lions team was wide receiver depth, right? Now, Jameson Williams did make his return. He only saw 2 catches for 2 yards. He did have that 3rd target. I think that would probably be qualified as a drop, but if you see the angle, the dude was about to get layered. He certainly made a business decision, and I can't blame him for it. Josh Reynolds, we know he's got that chemistry with Jared Goff, 4 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Khalif Raymond, 3 catches, 45 yards. Those are the 2 players, Reynolds and Raymonds, that I think a lot of people outside of Lions fans just weren't really aware of. First off, their NFL careers. Like these guys are 28, 29 years old. They've had successful NFL veteran careers. They're still in the prime of their athletic, physical careers. But these are guys deeper down in the depth chart, along with Marvin Jones, who saw 2 catches for 22 yards. I thought he was going to have a much bigger impact on this Lions team, but the point still stands. Your wide receiver 2, your wide receiver 3, your wide receiver 4, these are guys who are going to give you 500 receiving yards at a bare minimum this upcoming season. They've done it in the past. You combine them, we got a 1,000-yard receiver. And this is so important because we talk about Jameson Williams all the time. I don't need the dude to be, obviously not playing the whole season. I don't expect him to be a 1,000-yard receiver. But if he gives me anything over 50 receiving yards per game, but, we want him to ease into it. First off, I definitely don't want him injured. I want him fresh. But, what we saw in OTAs, what we saw in preseason is going to be a process, right? We only saw him, 9 targets last season, that 1 catch for 40 yards and the touchdown. It's going to be a process. He's selected in the 1st round. It's a great problem to have. In fact, it just isn't really a problem. Then we also have to keep in mind, of course, Jahmyr Gibbs, versatile threat who can run, he can catch, he can do a little bit of everything. He's just a playmaker. The dude's a playmaker. So at the end of the day, man, Detroit won, and they won very nicely. We talked about it this past week after that Packers game. I'd love to see a Lions game where all 4 quarters, they're just on it. And this was the closest thing to it. I know like the 3rd down or the 3rd quarter, I apologize, isn't necessarily statistically the Lions' best quarter this season, but you have to keep in mind the context. They're up 28-3 or 28-10 at halftime today against my Packers. You're up 27-3. The Lions are legit. They're 4-1. They're 1st in the NFC North. You got some upcoming road games against Tampa and Baltimore, which I cannot wait to watch. People weren't aware of Detroit after the 1st game, against Kansas City, taking them down on the road at Arrowhead. Well, they're going to be well aware of them in 2 weeks max. So that's it for today, man. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button, hit the sub button. Sorry, guys, my Wi-Fi completely crashed. But, guys, go ahead, give me a grade rating on this Detroit Lions victory. I'm going A. Have a great weekend. We will see you next time.